Bandwidth for VT Talk is provided by vaporworld.co.uk.
Oh, the weather outside is frightening, up the skies are quite delightening. Oh, hello, it's Dave. Yes, my mind is all over the place tonight. There is a reason for that, and the reason for that I will share with you in the Haze Hour tomorrow. But tonight, it's Wednesday. In the UK, it is the hour of 9 o'clock. Elsewhere in the world, it's God knows what time. Tonight's show is going to be a little bit daft because we haven't got a clue what we're doing. Isn't that right, Marco?
Yeah. Yes.
That's the way it's going to be. It's going to be one of those. So as you can see, over my left, the left shoulder, that one there, you can see Mark Green sitting against Green, and that's him there waving. And if I press this button here, you will see the ever luscious and effervescent loveliness that is Sav. Hello, Sav. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you very much. How's yourself?
I might be slightly the worse for wear.
Never.
I have been battling interwebs demons for the last Lord knows how long. At 2 o'clock this morning, I had no internet at all. Not the slightest bit. It was shocking, and I didn't think I was going to be able to do the show, but the show must go on. So big shout out to the guys at BT Care who have been on the case brilliantly and got it sorted out to the point where we can actually make the damn thing work and get the show out. And that show rejoices in the name of, all together now, 1, 2, 3, 4, VT Talk! There, no, that was the titles. This is Marco. Over there.
Hello.
That's Sav. Look at that. So, why, Sav, I need to ask you a question. Will you hold up what you just had in your mouth, please?
Yeah.
Would you care to explain to the people why your e-cig has a hoodie?
Well, it's the MVP, which I love. But it gets very, very cold when it's left unattended.
Right.
So it's got a little hoodie that it goes in. And if you look, the button sticks out the V. So it's just perfect.
Right.
What can I say?
I'm not sure. What's the significance? Yeah, what's the significance of it getting cold, pray?
Well, I don't like having cold hands, and everyone complained that I used to wear my gloves all the time. So I took them off to prove I have hands, but now I put my e-cig in the glove instead.
Right, this has got nothing to do with the government nudge unit saying that you should go out and hug a hoodie, and you were just using that as an excuse to take your MVP everywhere you go.
Yes, well, that could possibly also be it, yes. I'm doing my bit for the Hug a Hoodie campaign.
Right.
I won't.
Go on, Mark. We'll speak or forever hold your pieces.
I was going to say I won't say what Jeff's typed into chat. I'll let Sav read it.
Yes, Jeff, he knows where he's also going to end up.
Would you like to read what he's written?
Sav likes sucking on a hoodie.
And that we shall leave exactly there.
Exactly there.
Yes. So while I was messing about trying to get the interwebs and everything sorted out, I was thinking about a few topics for talking about tonight, and I have been made painfully aware that the last few weeks have been a succession of programmes that were full of doom and gloom. And I thought I want a night to be different from that. So I thought I might do a little bit of teasing and ask a few questions. Like, for instance, Marco, or anybody in chat, have Have you been to one of these here nightclubs where the bright young things go and hold up this, oh Lord, wouldn't it be the purple one? Get the pink one out, David. I came across these things, and I've got to say thank you to Alex across there in Cumbria, in Alston, for sending me. I mean, I know it's pink. That aside, this is what they call an e-shish, right? And apparently it's the new craze, it's the new in thing for these folks that are constantly off and away out boogieing down in, you know what I mean? Disco, big fish, little fish, cardboard, all that kind of stuff. Apparently it's the in thing now. All the clubs are starting to sell these. 12 quid a pop, and it's a disposable. What do you reckon to that, Mark? Well, no nicotine in it and nothing. Tastes like strawberries, which apparently it's meant to. What do you reckon to that?
12 quid is a very good price, and I wish I was selling them, to be fair. 12 quid a pop. From what I understand, I've not tried one myself, but yeah, no nick, but lots of flavour, and they're doing absolute storm. They're making a killing on them in the clubs, and I don't go to those kind of clubs, so I would have bought one.
What kind of clubs do you go to? Just curious.
I don't really. I spend too much time working and doing TV to go to clubs. No, the kind of clubs we go to, they kind of don't sell that kind of things. Not in Barnsley. No.
Barnsley? Don't you have bright young things in Barnsley going around sucking on long pink things every night?
Yeah, they're probably not e-shish though.
Right. Have you come across them, Sav?
I have, and I think they're brilliant. If I was still in my clubbing days, I wouldn't think twice about getting one. I think they're really a good idea. But I haven't used one myself, but I would do, definitely.
I tell you what, I'm sure, well, I know for a certain fact because I've been reading it, that there's stuff in the chat that you might want to bring forth.
You know what? I haven't been reading it, so I was listening to what you were saying.
It's going well tonight, folks. This is the team pulling together in full effect. It's going really well. Trust me. This is, you know, oh, what? Sav, over to you.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying they're a bit too old for nightclubs. I won't read again what Jeff has said. Maddie Paulus has said, what's the vapor production of these things like? Brian Fletcher said, going to walk along the queue selling them at £10 a pop. Fuzzy's never heard of them. Tracy Collins is saying, one nightclub here and you can't get those here. I don't go clubbing. Yeah, loads are down in Bournemouth, so could make a fortune in the summer, says Brian.
Is that birthday boy Brian Fletcher? 21
it
again,
is.
plus VAT, plus tax, plus stamp duty.
And whilst we're talking about Brian, before I forget, because I promised I would do this, he asked me to give a shout out to the Bournemouth Vape Meet this Friday at the Cranley Hungry House pub, which is, I've got the postcode for anyone that wants it, and it's a 7:30 start.
Do you want to just yell the postcode out? Because
yes,
people on video on demand will be able to pick it up from that.
Yes, I was going to, but I can't find it. Hang on. Yeah, BH6 5PY.
BH6 5PY.
Yes.
BH for Bournemouth, I assume. BH6 5PY. He's just typed it into chat.
Yeah.
Just typed it. Yeah. Somebody was saying give it a 6-second puff. Who would that be? Or they apologise. Whose name has changed since a typo last week.
Yes.
It's become a good one now. If you go out, right, if you're out anywhere and you've got your e-cig with you and you just happen to waft a great gobbet, a great billowing cloud of vapour into somebody's face who looks at you funny, you just go, oh, they apologise. That's all you need to say. Actually, this strawberry one is producing like an absolute champion.
What's it taste like, Dave?
Wow.
It tastes like strawberry. It actually does taste like strawberry. A big hard drag, probably not such a good idea, but I would imagine that the majority of folks that are going to be buying these, 12 quid a pop, ha, bloody hell, at 12 quid a pop they're going to be... I say, Cynthia, shall we go down to the Dog and Parrot and just see if there are any nice chaps there we can go and, you know,
I have a question from... Sorry, Marco.
Sorry, Marco?
I was going to say, they're probably a lot more expensive than your average quantity of disco dust these days.
Disco dust?
Yes.
What be disco dust?
Charlie. White stuff.
You mean Colombian marching powder?
Ah, I do indeed. I mean, that's probably a lot more expensive than that these days.
Damn sight better for you, though. Sorry, Sav, you were saying there was a...
Yes, there's a question from Jeff Bennion, and he says, does it taste like real strawberries or synthetic strawberries?
Is that synthetic spelt C-O-N-D-O-M?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. He's done that for a reason, and he's done that to catch either you or me out. Now, I've said this before. I remain convinced we have the best chat on the planet, with one or two exceptions.
Agreed.
and basically, he wanted you to say the latter, at which point he could have a joke. But I'm going to say neither of us have ever tasted strawberries in the manner in which you described, the condom strawberries. Actually, it's not. It's like tinned strawberries. If you ever had tinned strawberries when you were a young'un, and if you were my age, you must have had. Slightly candied. But if you were out there, you know, giving it that, I'd better stand up and do it properly, hadn't I? If you were there, giving it that...
At least he's wearing pants.
I've got me sound engineer pants on, you see. But if you were... sound engineer pants cost today's International Sound Engineer Day. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Testing. 1, 2. Yeah, if you were there, this would be quite refreshing, I think, with the odd tequila or margarita or what have you. I'd say, like nice little Julie end on as well. I mean, this is one segment of tomorrow night's show that's gone fleeing straight out the window now.
I've got another question. Vaporman says, is there any nicotine in these?
No. No, this is nicotine free. There is no nicotine in it, which is why very short you'll see me picking a Genesis up.
I've just had a comment that came in from Kat, which I have to read out. She says, I have to tell you that now she knows why our presenters don't wear trousers.
Why would that be?
I'm guessing something to do with your shorts.
There's nothing wrong with me shorts, the tartan. I see. There's more comments coming in, Sav, over to you.
There's a lot of people talking about the shorts. Wondering if you're a closet Bay City Rollers fan. A lot of people also talking about the strawberries. And Vaporman has said £12 and no nicotine. What's the point?
There's the question. The thing about it is, I mean, have you ever been to a shisha bar? If you've ever had any, if you're in chat, if you've ever been to a shisha bar, type in and tell her. Hey Lord, that was so Geordie. Type in and tell us, so that us can talk about it. Have you ever been to a shisha bar, Marco?
No, I haven't.
He's no use at all, this fella tonight. He's never been anywhere.
I have.
You've been to a shisha bar?
Yes.
Tell the people about a shisha bar.
Well, I went to it was an outdoor place when we were over in Dubai, and we were sitting eating, and this waft of fabulous smell and stuff just kept coming over, and I was like, I have to find out more about this. And it was the whole hubbly bubbly pipe things, and the tastes from these things were magnificent. And I was still smoking at the time, and I could have quite happily just sat there all evening on the hubbly bubbly rather than have a cigarette. It was absolutely amazing. I loved it. Loved it.
Well, I'm going to turn the tables on you because I've been reading chat while you've been talking, just to save you the bother. And what I'm seeing is that there's a big shisha bar down where Brian Fletcher is, Birthday Boy plus VAT plus all the rest. Bad Seed's been in one. Jeff Benyon says he went outside for a real smoke afterward. Bad Seed's saying theirs is called Shisha Garden in Maidenhead and it's lovely. Liam Thompson's used a hooker. Jeff is saying the taste was great but he missed the nicotine. Now, here's the thing, is that the idea behind shisha, one of the reasons it's so popular amongst the bright young things, that's basically anybody under 35 I suppose, is that there is no nicotine. Now for donkeys yonks, as you know, nicotine's been branded as being the bad boy when it isn't. Let's not get into that. The notion of shisha is you can sit and suck on a hubble bubble, got to be so careful, all night long, and you're not going to get anything to do with nicotine. And a lot of people think that nicotine causes the cancer. So shisha has become very popular. It's not about the nicotine, it's about the flavour, it's about the taste. It's about the sitting with your feet up with something nice in your mouth, blowing great wafts, and they call them billows, apparently is the correct term. It's called making a billow or blowing a billow is what they call it. And the whole idea behind these e-shish is that folks are going off to clubs because there's a few shisha bars have been closed down because quite often the charcoal pellet on the top ends up lighting the molasses when the molasses dries down, and it just needs your trading standards guy to go in at the wrong time and bingo bango bongo, you close down. So thing is, this is what I wanted to ask you, Marco. I reckon these e-shish things could actually pave the way for a massive explosion in the acceptance of electronic cigarettes, because be lots and lots of folks, younger folks, used to seeing them in clubs, so they're not going to be surprised when they see them out and about in bars and the places older folks go, shopping malls, hairdressers, barbers, funeral parlours. What do you reckon?
I think you're probably right there, Dave. I think seeing the electronic vaporizing equipment in kind of a mainstream area like a club for the younger generation, if you like, would make it more accepted. And yesterday, strangely enough, for the first time, I saw somebody vaping that was not in a pub, not at a vape meet, and not someone I knew. And that was at my local garage where I was looking at cars. And the salesman there had an ego battery with a clearomizer on. And that is the only person I've seen, apart from in our little community, that has been vaping.
A vapor in the wild?
Aye.
My goodness me. I'm shocked and stunned. Although I've got to say, and if Dave K is kicking about in chat, he'll confirm this. When we were flying back from Ireland, there was a rather stunning young lady. And when I say rather stunning, I mean on a scale of 1 to 10, 13, with an ego, or an ego alike. It was certainly something of that ilk. Toddling into the bar, well, I call it a bar, it was a champagne bar, and she was well-heeled, well-to-do, and wandering in there waving this thing as she tottered along with her little trolley dollies briefcasey thing on wheels, you know, and she's tottering along with this and got herself, and I happened to have with me at the time that which, you know, is often admired by young ladies, and I just showed her that and went, mine's bigger than yours is, and we parted ways amicably, but that was about it. It was only her and me and Dave at the time. Oh, Jeff Benyon said Dave K can't come in because the wife's watching, so which is fair. Are many other people seeing vapors in the wild out there in chat? Bring it back. I told you I had now to talk about tonight. We need feeding here. We need feeding. It's one of those, and like I say, you'll find out tomorrow why. But yeah, vapologist, vapologise, says he's seen loads, I think. Is that right?
Yep, he said he's seen loads. Andy Bell hasn't seen any.
Yes. I must admit, I am toying with the idea of, because these e-shish are working so nicely, I'm thinking about syringing the top end out and whacking a bit of 45 in.
Well, Maddie Paulus has asked, could he take his ego into a shisha bar and vape in there?
Don't see why not. It's not illegal. And as far as I'm aware, it's not immoral. And I'm pretty sure it won't make you fat. So if it's not illegal or immoral or it'll make you fat, it's fine to do. Nothing wrong with that. I can't see a problem with it. You see a problem with it, Mark? Or can you think of a reason why that might not be good?
No, absolutely not. As you said, it's totally legal. So I think it's, I don't know, maybe the little crossover between, you know, e-sheesh and vaping with nicotine. That's maybe something that we can kind of amalgamate together, like you said earlier, to kind of widen the audience and widen the acceptance of vaping in general, because it's still quite misunderstood, I think.
I can see it being quite contentious, because there's been an awful lot of talk about children using e-cigs, and the idea of a non-nicotine containing e-cig, which is effectively what an e-sheesh is, being sold in clubs where they quite often have all ages night, underage nights and stuff like that, and I'm just wondering whether that might cause an issue in one or two places, which is something that we'll pick up when we get back from the break. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Make sure you are too.
Vaporworld.co.uk sponsors conversation on VT Talk.
GG, because you want one.
iVapor and iVapor Elixir, based in Yorkshire, for your e-cig needs. That's ivapor.co.uk and ivapor-elixir.co.uk. iVapor and ivapor-elixir.co.uk, proud sponsors of vaportrails.tv.
And now back to conversation on VT Talk, sponsored by vaporworld.co.uk.
And we are back in the room. Yeah, actually we were continuing the conversation about these e-sheesh. Marco, what you said during the break bears repetition so that everybody can hear and no doubt comment, because I thought it made interesting conversation fodder.
Yeah, what I was saying was, if I look at the camera, what I was saying was, if the e-sheesh contain no nicotine, then therefore they probably wouldn't be covered by an age limit, so children could then buy them, unless they were deliberately not sold to kids. But given the fact there's no nicotine in them, children would probably buy them, and then you could argue, certain people will argue, that if they start on no nicotine e-sheesh, the logical step next is to go on to e-cigs. So what do we think about that?
Well, we've got a case in point actually in Sue71 UK, who is married to Seabiscuit and who took up zero nic e-cigs, so effectively an e-sheesh if you like, and she's must be over a year into it now. Well over a year into it now.
It's got to be that at least, yeah.
It's getting on for 2. In fact, I think didn't she take it up very shortly after VTTV started?
I'm not sure, but it's got to be at least a year. I'm sure Sue will let me know. I'm sure she's in chat, but it's
Yeah.
got to be.
I mean, it's an interesting one. You see, I don't believe in the concept of a gateway drug or a gateway anything other than gateways. They used to say, it used to bleat long and loud, that marijuana was a gateway drug to heroin and cocaine and everything else, and it isn't. Marijuana in itself, in and of itself, isn't a gateway to anything. You stick there the rest of your life quite happily without touching anything else. When it did become a gateway to harder drugs was when it was criminalised and made illegal and could only be bought from criminals, and so it got laced with samples of their other product that they sold at a higher price. That was where the gateway thing came from. But I don't know, taking a drag off those e-cigs things, there is the square root of bugger all throat hit. None, zero, nada, note, not a thing. If you were to then go to a 24mg e-cig after you'd been using those, it would take you by surprise considerably. I can't honestly see where it's going to be a gateway. I really don't see that that's going to be the case. Have we got anything from chat on this, Sav?
Yeah, we have. First of all, Sue71 said it'll be 2 years on January the 16th. And we've got comments coming in. I'll start at the top and work my way down.
Okay.
Jeff Bennion said, most pre-25-year-olds think it's lame and stupid as younger siblings keep pointing out to him.
Well, before you go further, let me just say that I showed these to some young lady friends of mine, and that's not meant in any nasty way, and they were, ooh, that's nice. What flavour is it? Strawberry. Ooh, give us a go. And if anybody, well, people on the team will remember the Gary the Copper, who's vehemently against fags. And he had a drag on both of them. He says, they're nice, I could take them up. Sorry, carry on.
Next, Tracy Collins is saying the new shisha pipes are illegal to own then. She's in New Zealand, if I'm not mistaken.
I'd love more info on that.
Definitely. Moonlit has said, I still think it depends on fags being bad. Kids do bad things to push limits and authorities. And also said, anyway, I wouldn't have a problem with a teenager using an e-cig more than I would have a problem with them drinking an energy drink. Jeff has also said, they start on water, does that mean they'll go on to alcohol? Andy Bell said, it's not logical to presume they will start on nicotine later on. Moonlit again said, in my experience in the teenage population way back when, the drug isn't the gateway, the people using it are. And Brian Fletcher said, we all know kids love sweet things, look at the drinks that they buy.
Right, and Tracy's just come back to say that it's apparently the hooker pipe thing is because of the massive dope culture. They won't let shisha or shisha parts into the country because they mistakenly, I would assume, believe that hubble bubble pipes, a shisha pipe, is used for marijuana, and it actually isn't. It's the last thing you would even try to smoke in a shisha pipe. It can be used in a water pipe, it's used in a bong, but not in a shisha pipe, because shisha pipes don't work that way. You don't burn in the bowl. But there you go. It's really weird, really weird. And I'm saying that there are folks that are having difficulty in getting it down. You've just got to select a lower resolution. I don't know quite what the problem is, but I know it is a little bit juddery. I mean, I've got a fast connection and I'm having trouble watching the high speed stuff. But
I did a full page refresh and that seemed to settle it down for me.
yes, I did the same and I managed to get it decent through.
Yeah.
Oh dear, Moonlit's on 240.
Oh dear. Well, I know there's a lot of work by various phone companies going on at the minute all over the place. So
There is indeed, and I know my own exchange is being attacked with a big digger tonight.
yes, mine was the other night.
Yes. So there are obvious challenges here with the interwebs
Yes.
around the place. But there you go. Yeah, so coming back to this zero nicotine and electronic shisha and stuff like that, Marco. I mean, do you feel that there's some kind of magical gateway property about a zero nick e-cig? Because what I'm seeing, and I hate to go doomy gloomy, but sometimes we've got to. I mean, the World Health Organization and various others have been putting out this complete nonsense that because it looks as though it might be smoking, and I've only ever seen purple tabs from Sobrani, that's undermining the denormalisation of smoking lit tobacco. I think they're chopping their noses off to spite their face, to be honest. But for me, I honestly do think that things like this could quite easily normalise the use of e-cigs, and I think that's a good thing. What's your take on it?
I'm in total agreement with you, Dave. The e-sheesh could help bridge the gap between people's perceptions of e-cigs and people's perceptions of smoking, and the kind of interpolation between the two. I don't think in any way that the zero nick e-sheesh is a gateway to vaping or to vaping nicotine whatsoever. My comment was based on what I think other people might say, and I think we all believe, and everyone in chat as well is going to say that they don't believe it's a gateway to vaping either. I don't think that having cigarettes behind a door in a supermarket stops people buying cigarettes. The fact that you may see a packet and you may see a brand name doesn't make people buy cigarettes who are underage. It never has, and I don't think it ever will. So what they're doing these days with putting fags behind a door, I don't think is making any difference whatsoever. People are stopping because they want to stop. People are starting because they want to start, and not because they see a nice packet. I mean, let's face it, a cigarette packet is not exactly that inviting, is it? Especially when you've got pictures of all sorts of stuff on the packet. So a zero nick e-sheesh in a club, is that going to make someone then want to start vaping nicotine? I very much doubt it. Very much doubt it.
I'll tell you what I can't see happening, which I think would be good. That they'd go out to the club and they'd pay their 12 quid for one of these things in its little plastic tube, and they'd suck on it, and my feeling is it'll get them through the night. It's basically a fully charged 510 is what we're looking at here. And if you don't know what a 510 is, it's kind of early days stuff, but basically there's enough in that battery to get somebody that's just looking for flavour and doesn't need a nicotine hit through a night out clubbing. They may need a second one for the taxi ride home, depending on how much they've vomited, but it would certainly, I think, get them through a night out clubbing, and perhaps even on the post-date visit to a young gentleman's flat, should that be on the cards, or young lady's flat if you're that lucky. And if it, never mind, I'm sorry, my mind was wandering down a different tack there. No, I'm not going to mention any of that. It's much safer that I don't. But I can see the situation coming where somebody's really enjoying what they're doing, and I can see the situation coming where they're going to go and get something like this, something like a GG with something like a Genesis on the top, and have something that's 50% VG and 50% flavour in there, and just sit there going gaga with Starburst or Gummy Bears, which is not RY4 for adults. Trust me on this one. Yeah, you know, I can see the e-shish people buying into more upmarket, if you like, mods type stuff. And I noticed as well, did you see that Okie Smoky have got an electronic head for a shisha pipe available?
Yes.
Who said yes? Sorry, I switched to
Me.
the wrong one. That's interesting. But I think you've got to have a shisha. You've got to have a shisha pipe in order to be able to use it. It replaces the charcoal. What's chat saying while we've got the camera on you? Oh, gorgeous, effervescent loveliness one.
Right, I'll read what I've got. Keo has said his wife vapes when she's out and about. People see the vape and have asked her for a light. She explains what it is, always lets them try it. She has the cover as you slip on the Eagle cartridges. She uses 18mg. They all say they're going to look into it. Moonlit has said, it's funny actually. I know a guy who was dead against smoking, but decided shisha was a reasonable exception to that. And Kat has said the only difference in hiding cigarettes behind a door can make is that it can convince some folks to go and buy off the black market.
Oh, the black market thing I would agree with. And I'll tell you what else as well. When I was a young'un, you know how you used to walk past those shops that had blacked out windows and blacked out doors? With names like Zen. There was one called Zen. And there was another one, I forget what it was called now because it was too high, and I was busting a gut to find out what was behind those windows. And I wandered in. I would have been about 16, I suppose, and quite frankly I couldn't get my hat on. I saw things that 16-year-old lads possibly hadn't been exposed to before. I had seen naked nudity of ladynesses. That wasn't a problem. Seen loads of that. There was Parade, if we remember Parade. And there was the Library of the Hedgerow. Do you remember the Library of the Hedgerow? No? Did you not get that in Yorkshire?
A bit before my time, that, Dave.
The library, you always used to find men's magazines in the hedgerow.
Oh, I see what you mean. No, I didn't really go looking in the hedgerow for pornos.
You didn't have to look for them. They more or less jumped up and shouted, "Hello!" So I was aware of all of that. It was the machinery that I wasn't aware of, shall we say. And I probably hadn't better go any further down that route. But I can well see that young'uns that are wandering round and they see a kind of a furtive behind the cupboard, because they're not allowed to open the cupboard so that people can see all the packets and everything there. They have to sneakily open it up and go in and just get the one packet they want. They're not allowed to get 3 or 4 out and show you them. Do you want this one or this one? A blue one, a red one, a green one, a purple one, a black one, a pink one? No. They have to get out just the one packet and sneak it across. And I'll be very surprised if they haven't got to put it into a brown paper bag. And of course you're going to get young'uns looking at that and going, I wonder what that's about. I'm not supposed to say that. I think I might have to get myself some of that. Dad, will you buy me a packet of them, whatever they are, please? You know it's going to happen. And if Dad won't, Big Brother will. It's bound to happen. I think it just entices them on.
Agreed.
Aye.
Chat got anything to say on that?
No, chat are still in the hedges.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
Aha.
I do apologise. I kept Rudolph here to keep whispering in my ear, don't go off the rails, you know, and it looks as though his job is not being done well.
Liam Thompson has said he has to sell cigarettes at work. It's a joke. Dave is absolutely right. Little kids are intrigued.
Well, I can well imagine there would be. I mean, it's, you know, you get young'uns coming in and men's magazines are put up on the top shelf and they've got to have a plastic cover over them, and they're supposed to, on the plastic cover, they're supposed to put little marks over anything that might be vaguely suggestive. It makes you want to look. Look at burlesque. Again, going off at a tangent here. But the rise in burlesque where everything stays covered, you know, the actual bits never get shown, right? But that's now viewed as being more titillating than naked pole dancing because it arouses more interest. So hiding this stuff away, taking it out of sight, just piques little kids' interests, and they'll keep on getting piqued until they get fulfilled. Anyway, Davey, I was half launching into a rant there. I do apologise. It's not like me. I never rant. Never rant.
No,
never rant. We need to take a break. When we get back, we'll be talking about nothing again. It's amazing how you can do that in these shows. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Love to see you.
Vaporworld.co.uk sponsors conversation on VT Talk. And now back to conversation on VT Talk, sponsored by vaporworld.co.uk.
Then we're back in the room. Go on, tell everybody that story you just told me, Marco.
One about the fags?
Yeah.
Yes. Well, many years ago, 25 years ago, when I was writing for a living, I did 2 jobs. I wrote in the evenings, my comedy, and then during the day, I drove a van all around London, delivering to chemist shops and little grocery shops and things. And there was a couple of shops that used to sell cigarettes individually to school kids, and I'd see them going in, and they'd be there, 20p for a Benson. And that's still going to continue, and that will always continue. So hiding them under the counter or hiding them behind the door is not going to make any difference. But that's the cigarette side of things. I think we need to concentrate more on the vaping side of things and getting that more accepted, as opposed to worrying about what they're doing with the fags. What do you reckon?
You see, I see the two as being linked, because, and not because they are, but because the nannies have linked them. They can't disassociate the nicotine. It's the nicotine, and that's what binds what we use to cigarettes in a way that the e-cigs doesn't. I think there was who said that somebody typed in something about somebody that was dead against smoking but didn't mind a shisha.
Yes, that was Moon that was saying if his friend was dead against smoking but decided shisha was a reasonable exception to that.
So there you go, and that's because of the nicotine. And there are so many, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but there are so many people that have not yet been educated that nicotine is not the devil in the detail in this thing. It's everything else that's the problem when it comes to smoking. And indeed, if ever there is proved to be a problem with e-cigs, it won't be the nicotine that's the problem. That's the whole bottom line. The nicotine isn't the problem, but they've conflated the whole thing. So it's kind of, we are a little bit confabulated and pressed together, cigarettes and e-cigs. From the powers that be, they see us as a threat to the wiping out of the tobacco companies. I really don't see where the logic is in that. But see, when it comes down to e-cigs, I honestly think, and going by what Carl Phillips has already said, that the more people see us out and about with them in all their different shapes and sizes and flavours and colours and shinies and, you know, box mods and everything you can think of. I mean, there's a fair selection of different types here on the desk here now. And this is all stuff that I'll use and I'll take out and use. I'm not shy about it, never have been, never will be. Couldn't give a monkeys, I don't care. If people come and say something, I can answer them. It's dead easy. Tell them all about it, not a problem. Gobshite, that's my job, it's what I do. And I think the more people see who's out there using these things and just not being scared about it, the more they'll get used to it, the more they'll ask questions. They will. They're bound to ask questions. The number of people who'll come up to me, and here I must go into a slightly Geordie patois, and you'll get, "Hello, young'un, what's that there's got?" You say, "Well, it's an electronic cigarette." "The hell's one of them like, how?" Well, it's what it says. It's electronic. You don't light it. There's no tobacco in it, but it gives you the same pleasure and enjoyment that you would get from a cigarette, with the added bonus that if you like different flavours, you can get them. Well, how does that work? And if you've got something like this, you can say, "Well, you see that liquid in there?" "Yes." "Well, effectively, you're chucking it onto the element in a kettle." "Oh, so it steams?" "Aye. Yes, it's steam. And that's what you're seeing when I exhale. It's steam." And 9 times out of 10, it'll be followed up with, "Giz a gan hill," which roughly translated, for those of you that don't speak the Geordie patois, says, "Would it be possible for me, perchance, to have a small toke upon your device of choice for the day, so that I may experience the delights and pleasures to which you have alluded?" Much easier in Geordie. "Giz a gan." And you do, and if they don't splutter and cough because they've taken too big a draw, inevitably it's, "Where can I get one of them?" And that's the way it goes. And the more we get of that, the better. What say you, Marco?
Oh yeah, absolutely, and I agree with you. And I was just putting on my tank onto my lava tube because when I was in said garage yesterday, the guy pulled out his little 650 mAh ego with his clear miser, and I whipped out of my pocket, and I showed him that, and he said, "That's nice, isn't it?" And he said, "What is it?" And I said, "Well, it's a variable voltage, and you can change the voltage, and you can have 5 mil of juice in there." He said, "That's really good." And I'll just have a go. I get that quite a lot at work if I'm out in the tab area, to use a northeastern expression.
Back
And they
of the bike sheds. Back of the bike
yeah.
sheds is what we call it.
And tomorrow night, when I'm at my work's Christmas do, I will be taking a selection, and I'll be seeing who can cough the most when they've taken a huge drag. When I've said exactly how to do it, and they'll take it in. Because one girl tried it at work, and I thought she was really going to cough, not one lung but both lungs, because she was going at it like a cigarette. But there have been a few people that have seen it and had a go, and are then interested. And a lot of my wife's colleagues have seen her with her ego and clear miser, and they've now got them. So it's just like, you know, anything you see your peers doing it, then you may want to have a little go at it.
Well, yes. I mean, looking at that that modelling that Carl Phillips was doing in the VT we showed 2 or 3 weeks ago, you can see how it works. It's a viral model, and yeah, the more it's seen, the more people will become interested, and the more people become interested, the greater the, I'll use the word conversion rate, but I hate the idea of converting, or the notion of converting. It sounds a little bit cultish like me, to me, not like me. I'm not a cult. No further. Coming up to Christmas, behave. And yeah, you know, the more people that are exposed to e-cigs, the more people will take them up. Of that, there can be no doubt. You've just got to look at the growth that we've had during the course of 2012. And if Ash is to be believed, by the time we get the bong, 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 bong on December 31, there'll be 1 million of us kicking about in the UK, which is a fair few. And if we could double that over 2013, that would be not bad. And I honestly do believe that if we go out and we use e-cigs wherever we are, that'll happen. And I know there's been bazillions of comments because my iPad's been going like that. Sav?
I've edited them down. I'll read a couple. Andy Bell says, "Quite right, Dave, although it takes a while to build up the courage to do it in public." I get this wrong. Pipamo, I remembered. He said, "Since I got a telescope mod, that's created masses of interest at the local because it's nice and small, the 18350, and the Vivi tank works fantastic on it." And Tracy Collins brought up something. She says, "The nicotine for Alzheimer's study was missed by a lot of people," to which Lazy Dog said, "Tracy, it's normal. Good news doesn't sell."
Yes, there's also the point that the whole idea, well, no, I've got to be careful how I put all of this as well, because I don't want to upset anybody. But the notion that nicotine has a pharmaceutical quality drug application, i.e. as a preventative and curative for the symptoms of Alzheimer's disease, simply gives more ammunition to the pharmaceutical companies who, it would appear, want to see the back of e-cigs so that they are the only ones dealing in nicotine. That's what we keep on seeing. It's what keeps on happening. If you follow the money in the argument, that's where it goes. So kind of, to some degree, I was relatively pleased that it didn't get massive big headlines all over the place, you know, nicotine's the cure for Alzheimer's. Maybe not. It's a bit like that headline that came up today, that HIV is the cure for blood cancer. And it's like, what? Not sure which one's worse there. But, you know, yeah, we know that nicotine has good properties, very, very good properties for an awful lot of people. But there's kind of this whole notion that we don't want or I don't want the pharmaceutical companies to have any more ammunition than they've already got, because they're already trying to say David Dawn has a disease. He has a disease of nicotine addiction, and we need to cure him of that. I don't want to be cured. I haven't got a disease. I have a pleasure. I have a predilection. There's a big word. Google that one after the show. I have a predilection for nicotine. I have a liking for it. I lean towards it. Nicotine makes me feel happy. If I'm not having nicotine, I don't feel happy. And exactly the same, strangely, applies to caffeine, and in smaller quantities, alcohol. And to me, it's my body. What I put in it is nobody's business but mine. I'm not harming anybody by doing what I'm doing, and I can't understand why they won't just bugger off and leave us alone. Marco?
Yeah, again, I agree with you there, Dave. At the end of the day, we know that there is issues with too much caffeine, give you a heart attack. If you drink too many tins of a certain branded caffeinated drink, like somebody did who worked for a supermarket on a night shift, ended up with a heart attack. Or the young girl who was working in her father's coffee shop and had 8 double espressos and ended up severely hyper in hospital. Caffeine's got an issue, nicotine. If you have too much of anything, it's bad. I'm totally with you in the sense of they should bugger off, really. We're not doing anyone any harm. If I was sat next to somebody on a bus smoking 20 fags and blowing it in their face, fair enough. If I was sitting there blowing plumes of vapour into somebody's face, sitting next to them on a bus, which none of us would do, then, you know, someone could say something. But in the general day-to-day usage, we all know what the difference between caffeine, nicotine, alcohol, and certain banned substances are. Yes, there are some substances that are totally illegal. Nicotine's not illegal, so go away, basically.
Yes, quite. Sav, we'll throw it across to you because, again, I saw my iPad screen fleeing up at a rate of knots.
Yes, I've had a lot of people going, is having too much caffeine even possible? My favourite comment came in from Gillis, who says, Dave, maybe not a cult, but certainly a leg end.
Thank you, Gillis.
Yeah,
he's a Horton lad, you know.
Yes, he's a local guy. Vaporman says, all I use are bigger mods. If I go out with anything small now, I feel stupid. And I'm sorry if I get this wrong. Kieron Pozo says, there's a psychological barrier that smokers have to break down before they are comfortable using e-cigs. That's why they first go for a lookalike. Yes,
I can well imagine. And I also spied that there are 2 people in chat that have very, very different experiences of me out on a night.
Yes.
Yes. Matty Paulus has met me twice, and he says the phrase small amount of alcohol most definitely didn't apply on either of those occasions. And yet Oldgate has met me the once, and on that occasion I drank nothing but soft fizzies all night. So there you are, you see. It evens itself out. It evens itself out. My average intake is probably below the national average. But the spot levels, oh yes, hollow legs. I want to win one of those all-you-can-drink jobs. See how quick I can put the bar out of business.
Yeah.
The most I've ever managed is 36 pints in one session, if anybody's interested. And I didn't throw up. Weighed a lot, but I didn't throw up.
Yes, I can imagine.
It's this is all good stuff, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I've actually had a bit of a blast tonight, and I know we've got a little bit of time left, and I wanted to use the time for all sorts of things. I wanted to say, first off, I wanted to give you some congratulations, young Marco, Mr. Van Basten.
What have I done?
Well, what you've done is you've built a show to the point where I think it's required viewing for everybody. I've seen the improvement and the growth week on week on week on week, and I'm here to tell you that you have the record views on a monthly 30-day basis. You have the record views with the show that you did that featured the EVIC. You've achieved more views in a 30-day period than any of the rest of the presenters.
Wow, well, I didn't know that one till just now.
And that entitles you to buy us all a bottle of whiskey a week for the rest of the year.
Oh, is that right? Is that right? Well, I do have a very special show coming up next week because it is the Christmas show.
Indeed.
And I'll give you a little bit of an insight into January because the 18th will be the last show for a couple of weeks. And when I come back in January, I will have new titles, new studio, a little bit of a revamp. So putting all the things that I've been learning over the last 10 weeks into practice. So hopefully we shall get a nicer show. And then we'll see if we can gradually get up to the hour. But we do have an hour going out next Tuesday. So it should be good.
Excellent stuff. Excellent stuff. Are you on standby for tomorrow night?
Me?
You?
No, I'm at a party tomorrow night.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. I should also point out that Vaporman has picked up on this and he thinks that the bottle of whiskey should go to the viewers too.
Yeah, I was just about to say we've had a few requests for our Southern Comfort and one for vodka.
That seems fair. That seems fair. I can go with that. Yes, it's been canny. Now, if you tune into the Haze Hour tomorrow night at 9 o'clock, Thursday night, that's 9 o'clock UCT, I believe is the technical term, which is something different to clock everywhere else in the world. There will be 2 pieces of equipment being looked at. One of which, well, I don't know if this is going to work. Let's see. One of which is this. Right, it has arrived. Dink. Yes. That's one. And the other one has also arrived. And it also has an OLED screen. Dinky-doo. Hold that down. There you go. So I'm going to be looking at both of those tomorrow night in a kind of pseudo-y, reviewy kind of way, and I'll be putting them through all their paces and messing about like that. I'll go into a little bit more depth about the e-cigs things, and I will have an announcement to make. I will be a very proud boy. I may not be sober when the show starts. And if you want to know why, you'll have to tune in tomorrow night at 9 o'clock to find out. It's one of the biggest things that's ever happened in my life. So join me tomorrow night and I'll tell you for why then. Some of you might have guessed, and I'm just keeping my fingers crossed. I'm a bit of a nervous guy. How are we doing for time there, Sav?
You've got about 1.5 minutes now.
Oh, I better start my credits away. So, I will, if I may, say thank you very much to our presenter of the month, employee of the month, little badge like that for having the most viewers for a 30-day period because of the EVIC. That was brilliant, that. Thanks Marco for coming and joining me tonight and helping me out with this. And thank you to Sav, the exquisite loveliness that she is, for doing her usual brilliant job. There she is there. Thank you also to Kat for doing what she does, and thank you a lot for watching. I will see you all tomorrow night for the Haze Hour, and we'll see you all next week as well. Until then, be good to each other, be happy, vape on and vape hard.
VT Talk was sponsored by Vaporworld, introducing the straight-up range of e-liquid from the USA containing real tobacco extracts.